Supporters of abortion rights have highlighted tragic stories like this in an attempt to make the issue key headed into the November election. Today, Democratic senators will take another step, holding a vote on a bill meant to protect contraceptives. The move is in reaction to Donald Trump saying in a recent interview that he would be open to restrictions on contraception, only to backtrack the comments hours later. Today's bill is not expected to garner enough Republican support to pass, but Democrats want GOP senators on the record. Joining us now, Democratic Senator Elizabeth Warren of Massachusetts. It's good to have you on the show. We are clearly no longer talking in hypotheticals when it comes to Donald Trump's promises, as we are now living through this. So tell us what's at stake with what you're trying to do.
So look, we are only 60 years since the Supreme Court protected access to contraception. 50 years since they protected access to abortion. We saw what the Supreme Court did on abortion, and now there's a real risk they may do the same thing on contraception. Indeed, one of the justices has already said so. But more to the point, I'm really sick of this idea that the Republicans think they can say two things simultaneously. They can talk to their extremist group and say, I'll give you everything you want. We are going to ban abortion, IVF, contraception, everything you want. And then try to say to the rest of America that says, boy, we don't want any part in that. They say, no, we really don't mean it. We're very moderate. We're not going to do that. Calm down. There's not a problem here. Well, my view is I don't want to hear your words. I want to see what you're going to do. So today we're putting a bill on the floor of the Senate that's going to have every senator vote. Are you willing to support a federal law to protect access to contraception? Yes or no? And we'll see where the Republicans stand on this.
So, of course, Senator, you're talking about Clarence Thomas, who in the concurring opinion of Dobbs said now that we've overturned the constitutional right to abortion, we can look at contraception next. Right. The timing of your legislation obviously couldn't be more vital. The lead story, the top of the Washington Post this morning, conservative attacks on birth control could threaten access. And they go down the list of states from Idaho to Louisiana to Missouri who are spreading misinformation, state legislatures taking that misinformation to pass bills that actually curb the right to contraceptions.
Yeah. You know, the thing about this is it's not just in a handful of states where the threat exists. It's all over the country. We've talked about the fact that abortion will be on the ballot in 2024. So will IVF and so will contraception. If the Republicans get in charge, look at what they've already said they want to do. There is a bill pending in the House that is a Life Begins at Conception bill. And it is supported by the majority of Republicans in the House, including the Speaker of the House. That bill would make it impossible, for example, to use IUDs or to use Plan B. They would just be automatically treated as murder. So it is important that we get everybody on the record and make it clear all across this country. Abortion is on the ballot, IVF is on the ballot, contraception is on the ballot. And the majority of Americans who don't want an extremist minority to be able to control them and to advance their agenda over that of and the decisions of everyone else, that's what's at stake in 2024. And that's why we're voting today.
And again, there's always this characterization of, oh, look at the extremists in rural states here. Look at the extremists there. Let's look instead at Virginia, for instance. Glenn Youngkin, who's supposed to be, he's an investment banker, or he's a more moderate Republican. He's not crazy like the rest of those people. Glenn Youngkin actually vetoed a bill that would guarantee women in Virginia the right to contraception. And his justification was he had to veto it because he thought giving women the right that they've had since 1965 would, quote, trample on the religious freedoms of Virginians. That's how crazy this has become.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's how extreme it has become. You know, more than 90% of Americans want to make sure that people get access to contraception. So here's this group, it's less than 10% of our country, that actually are the ones who are steering where things are going. And Donald Trump and the Republicans are not just playing along with it, they're actually empowering it and making it come to pass. Always remember that when Trump ran back in 2016, he said that he would appoint the right justices. And that is exactly what he did. He put the justices in place that overturned Roe. And people all across this country are now dealing with the fallout from that. And they're not quitting there. They want more and more and more. They're not quitting just at the state level. They're coming after all of the states nationally. They want to ban abortion. They want to ban contraception. They want to ban IVF. And it's up to us both to out them on that and then take it to the ballot box in November 2024.
Well, I think, Mika, what the senator said is so important. I know the senator, like you, like me, believe everybody has a religious right to believe what they believe. And I know that some Catholics, a small percentage of Catholics, have long believed that taking contraceptives is a sin. Okay, that this is America. Certainly your religious right to believe that, but don't try to have it both ways. Don't say, oh, no, we're not going to follow along with the 10% or the 7% or the 5% in America who believes that, and then quietly behind the scene push through legislation on state levels or veto that very right.
We've already seen what Donald Trump has been able to do with women's rights. So if the fact that he's liable of sexual abuse, massive fraud, defamation, and found guilty on 34 felony counts is not enough, perhaps think about more rights that he can take away from women, including the one we're talking about here today. Senator Elizabeth Warren, thank you.
So, Senator, what's next with this legislation, really quickly, before we know you have to go, but what's next?
So we're going to go ahead and bring it to the floor. We're going to have everybody vote on it. Everybody is on the record. And the plan is we're going to do the same with IVF. We're going to do the same once again with abortion. We don't want there to be any ambiguity here. When you look at the senators, when you look at the presidential candidates, you know exactly which side they stand on. This is the contrast.
Senator,
let's
be clear. I'm so glad you brought up IVF. Let's be clear. The Republicans in the Senate keep killing bills that would guarantee families across America the right, the protected right to have IVF treatment.
Yes. Today, we're going to do contraception and get them on the record on contraception. We are also going to get them on the record on IVF, and we are going to get them on the record once again on abortion, because no one should be fooled here. This is what the election this November is about whether or not a tiny minority in this country is going to determine access to family planning, health, reproductive rights for half the population in this country. And I think that's a no for most Americans, and that means they need to vote with the Democrats come November.
So we'll be following these votes and making sure we cover the outcome of each of these votes, and would love to have you back so we can highlight those who voted no and yes on each of these issues, so people are very clear exactly as to what's at stake. Senator Elizabeth Warren, thank you very much for coming on this morning. We appreciate what you're doing.
Thank you.